Hi, everybody. Harrison here, the Arabian Pleb. Welcome to the Arabian Pleb. Today is Thursday, 19th of June, 4 p.m., 3:59 p.m. 4 p.m. now. Hope you all are well. There's a lot happening, obviously, in the world. A lot of bad shit, particularly Israel's preemptive strikes, preemptive attack on Iran, which is full on and has touched off another massive war in the Middle East, which is not good and not what anyone should ever want or desire. It always ends in absolute catastrophe and disaster, every single one of these wars in the Middle East that Australia backs and totally follows America into these disasters and has no problem shilling for the lies that are surrounded and are baked into the cake with going to war in these foreign countries and invading them on false pretexts like weapons of mass destruction and the Taliban having anything to do with 9/11. It's just complete bullshit, obviously. And so now we have this new one. And the pretext for this one is we can't allow the Ayatollah, we can't allow the Shiites in Iran to have nuclear weapons, and they're so close to having a nuclear weapon, and that this has to be prevented at all costs because Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism around the world, supposedly, and for them to have a nuclear weapon is just a big no, 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 no. Even though Israel has a secretive nuclear weapons program, Israel is not a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and Israel are just attacking all their neighbors. And it's insane to me that they can say with a straight face that Iran's not allowed a nuclear weapon and we have to attack them because we think they're secretly trying to build nuclear weapons. While Israel, they themselves have nuclear weapons and keep it a secret, even though it's like the widest known open secret in politics. Like if you just spend, more than 5 minutes looking into the relationship between Israel and the United States and their weapons programs, their sophistication, their intelligence, and their history, there has been a whistleblower. Let me just double check who the whistleblower was who blew the whistle on Israel's nuclear weapon arsenal and how they acquired them. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Mordecai Vanunu was the whistleblower who blew the whistle on Israel's secretive, still to this day, nuclear weapons program. They are a rogue nuclear state who refused to sign on to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. These motherfuckers, man, it is unfathomable, unconscionable. I don't know what else to say. They're going around accusing Iran of trying to build a nuclear weapon and how bad this would be, while they have nuclear weapons that they're not telling anybody about and refuse to admit. If you listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, what does he say when he's asked about Israel's nuclear weapons? He doesn't deny it. He won't just come right out and say Israel doesn't have nuclear weapons because everyone knows that's a lie. No, what he says is Israel will not be the first to introduce nuclear weapons into the region. These elites in Israel are psychopaths. Now, normally I would go through the markets and look at gold and silver and bond yields and currencies. I will do that a bit later because I do find that interesting, and especially given the context of what's happening right now, it'll be interesting to see how the markets are responding. But before I do that, because normally I do that at the top of the show, but before I do that, and what episode is it? I think this is episode 12, I believe. Episode 12. Look at me go. But I'll do that later. What I want to do is to jump over to antiwar.com, the most important website on the internet, and just look at some of the headlines and have a look at maybe an article or two and go from there. So let's jump over and have a quick look. So here we are. I might just blow this screen up a little bit so we can see that a bit clearer. So at the top, we've got Trump privately approved plans to attack Iran. Oh my God. This motherfucker, Trump. How can he say he's America first at this point? You can't be America first while also being Israel first. And he's just proving that he is Israel first. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, Trump privately approved plan to attack Iran but has withheld final order. Iran has made clear it will hit US bases in the region if the US attacks. And that is a massive risk. And this is what Scott Horton so beautifully explained in his book, Enough Already, Time to End the War on Terrorism. What he explained was exactly this, what this article is about to go into. Dave DeCamp from antiwar.com, what he's writing about is that, Iran doesn't have to have the capability of launching a missile to hit the homeland of the United States of America, thousands of miles or thousands of kilometers away. They can just very easily touch America at their bases that are all surrounding Iran. Let's look at a map. Let's have a fucking look at it, eh? Right. This is just a simple Google search, but as you can see quite clearly, we have Iran and then all these American flags in Turkey, in Iraq, in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan. These are all American bases. Iran does not have to go far to inflict massive damage, potentially massive casualties on US servicemen and women in the region. They don't have to go far to touch America and potentially, I hope not, this is really fucking dark, but potentially kill hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of American personnel because they are just so spread out. And look at this, like the joke. The joke is like, why did Iran have to put their country right around all these American bases? What was Iran thinking, putting their country there right in the middle of all these American bases? So weird. Why would they do that? Yeah. Anyway, so let's read this article. So I'll read some of it. I'm a pretty shit reader, but I'll just go through a little bit of it. So the Wall Street Journal reported on Wednesday that President Trump has told his top officials that he approved plans to attack Iran, but is holding off on giving the final order for now. Sources told the Journal that Trump was waiting to see if Iran would agree to give up its nuclear program, which is almost certainly not going to happen. And why that is because Iran has a domestic supply of uranium that they can mine for. And there's no demand. I went through this on my other channel with Cosmic Surfer, The Great Retardation. Check that out. But I went into some of this. But yeah, so there's no real demand for Iran's uranium on the market. They can't really sell it. But what they can do, because they have a domestic supply of uranium and they have a domestic supply of oil, and there is big demand for oil, obviously, on the market. So what they can do is consume their domestic supply of uranium. Like, meaning, well, when I say consume, like they can use that to satisfy their electricity needs and like medical needs. So from what I understand, uranium has to be enriched to like 3-4% roughly there in order to satisfy their electrical needs, heating, housing, whatever, just residential, civilian, electrical needs. And then in order to power some of their more like sophisticated medical equipment, they need to enrich uranium up to 20%, somewhere around there, about roughly 20% for some of this more sophisticated medical equipment. In order to build a weapon, they would have to enrich uranium to 90% at least, and they're not doing that. They have enriched their uranium to 60%, which is much higher than what they would need for, as I just said, for medical stuff and for civilian purposes. But they're doing this because there's so much pressure on them that it's a way, it's like something that they can use as a bargaining chip to try and get some sort of like sanctions relief from America, or to just get America off their back. I mean, the Libya model has sent a message to the world that if you give up your nuclear weapons, which I don't like this, I don't like that this is a reality, but this is just the fact that what the Libya model is, where if you ever hear these Israeli elites, top officials talk about the Libya model, what they're talking about is Gaddafi. We got Gaddafi to give up his nuclear weapons, and then we backed bin Ladenite head-chopping psychopaths to sodomize him to death in the street. That's the Libya model. And the message that sent to the world, including North Korea and all these other rogue states that have nuclear weapons, is that you better acquire nuclear weapons, because if you don't, you're going to get Gaddafi'd. So this is the predicament that we're in right now, that the world is in. You know, I'm an Australian. I'm not an American, obviously, but it's in Australia's interest to not have World War III and to not be potentially dragged into another catastrophic Middle Eastern war like we have been for the last 20 years or so. More than 20 years now, since 2001. We got dragged into Iraq, dragged into Afghanistan, also helped launch 30,000 rockets into Syria during 2015. So we are implicated and involved in all this crap. So it's in our interest to call out the propaganda and to rail against it and say, no war with Iran. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, dude, how awful of a regime they are. It is not in our interest to have a regime change war and to be bombing their nuclear facilities and killing innocent civilians over there. Because much like our government, and much like the Israeli government, and much like the American government, yes, the governments are evil. Our government's evil. They're all immoral. Iran, Israel, and the United States. But the people are not their government. The government is actually a very small minority of people. And the vast majority of us have no association, have no affiliation with the government. We're not responsible for what these criminal gangs do. So anyway, going on a big rant, but pretty frustrated, as you can tell. I'll continue. The Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, I always mix up the pronunciation. The mean old Ayatollah, as Scott Horton would say, Khomeini. It's like a very similar name to Khamenei, but has rejected. So, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has rejected the US president's call for surrender, and Tehran's position is that it won't negotiate while under Israeli attack. I think that's like fair enough, dude. Like fucking hell. Israel has sabotaged these negotiations. And even just to give like a brief, like whatever, fuck, dude, like just to kind of give you a little brief, like historical context of America's relations with Iran. I mean, okay, so 1953, America overthrew the democratically elected government of Iran, and Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, and installed the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. And so from 1953, America coups the government, overthrows a democratically elected leader, installs the Shah, and the Shah ruled from 1953 until 1979, when the Iranian Revolution happened and the Ayatollahs came to power, and the American hostages were taken. But that was after the revolution. The revolution was in February 1979, and then the American hostages were taken at the end of that year, either October or November. But it was a whole 9 months later that happened. So that even though that gets conflated, as Scott points out in his book Enough Already: Time to End the War on Terrorism, those events were separate. And actually, American officials were praising Khomeini when he first, when the Ayatollahs first came to power. Zalmay Khalilzad's on record being like, "Oh, this is great because it'll be like Saudi Arabia. We'll have these these Islamic fundamentalists in power and Sharia law, and that'll be great. We'll be able to exploit their oil and it'll be just like our relationship with Saudi Arabia." So that was Zalmay Khalilzad saying that in 1979. So it's not true that America's always been hostile to Iran, and they haven't always been hostile to the Ayatollahs. And so that happened. And really the hostage crisis was blowback, as the CIA teach, that there are these unintended consequences to interventions around the world, that if you think that we can, the Americans or the CIA can just go around the world and toppling governments, and then there's not going to be any repercussions for that down the track, and the term they coined was blowback, then you have a problem. You that's not right. We do this thing, and then something is going to happen in response to that, and it might not be right away. And Scott's term for if there is something that blows up right in your face right away, that's backdraft. And that's taken from when a firefighter kicks open a door and lets in a bunch of oxygen and just really gives fuel to the fire. But so there was that happened. 1953, the coup, American coup. 1979, the revolution. The Ayatollahs come to power. American hostages get taken 9 months later, and then in the 80s, there was the Iraq-Iran war, where America backed Saddam Hussein to invade Iran, because by that point they did want to have a regime change there and try and reinstall the Shah, and America was backing both sides of that war. And there was the Iran-Contra scandal. And if you don't know anything about that, look up the Iran-Contra scandal, where the Reagan administration were using Israel. So this is evidence that Israel wasn't always hostile to Iran either. And even after the revolution, America was using Israel as the cutout to supply Iran weapons while they were also backing Saddam Hussein. And they were taking the money that they made covertly, supplying Iran weapons through Israel, and taking that money to back the Contras in Nicaragua to try and perform a coup over there. So there's all that, and then right, and then it's and then Iraq loses the war with Iran. Israel advocates, lobbies America for dual containment. Let's keep Iraq down and also keep Iran down, and apply pressure to both of them. And then Israel's doctrine changed, their policy changed to be more hostile to Iran in the 90s. And then there's the clean break memo by Douglas Feith, Richard Pearl, David Wormser, letter to Benjamin Netanyahu of, to don't even worry about trying to make peace with the Palestinians. Let's just cut deals with all their neighbors, all these Arab countries, and and also we need to demonize Iran, because they were really fearful that if America and Iran got on too well, that might jeopardize Israel and their aid that they're so dependent on from the United States. And you can look into all of that stuff too. There's guys that have done way better research on it than me, and where I get a lot of my information from. But yeah, like look at Scott Horton's work, antiwar.com, the Libertarian Institute. Go to the Libertarian Institute and just search for Iran or Iraq-Iran war or anything. It'll come up. And also antiwar.com. You'll find articles and all this stuff as well. And yeah, search for the clean break. Search for Israeli policy towards Iran. You'll find all this information. There's plenty of resources out there. Oh, another good book is Trita Parsi's book, Trita Parsi, Treacherous Alliance. Let me just grab that real quick. Which I need to read this book again, but Treacherous Alliance, The Secret Dealings of Israel, Iran, and the US. Trita Parsi. Fantastic book. Goes into great detail about all this stuff. Okay, and then fast forwarding a bit. Sorry, Dad, I know you don't like me saying but I don't like you saying. Anyway, I won't get into that. So then fast forward, whatever. So now there's all these hostilities towards Iran, all through the 90s, and then we get into the 2000s, and I think by 2005, Iran masters the fuel cycle. They know how to spin up centrifuges and produce enrich uranium and produce nuclear energy. And then Benjamin Netanyahu had been beating the war drum ever since then, and even prior to that, that we need to go to war with Iran. They're going to build a bomb. They're always like 1 to 3 years away from building a bomb, and he's been saying that ever since at least like 2000 and the early 2000s, whatever, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there, and ever since, like up until this day. And I'll find a clip later where it just goes through all the bullshit of him lying about them trying to make nuclear weapons. But so Iran, and I don't know when, maybe I should look it up, but they've been a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They have a safeguard agreements with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and have regular inspections of their facilities. Okay, and then in 2015, Barack Obama signs the nuclear deal with Iran, the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which was not necessary because they already were a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and they already had a safeguards agreement with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. So there was no need for the JCPOA, and all it stipulated in the deal was like some like more regular inspections and like a couple of other things around the edges, but there wasn't. It was basically, the way Scott Horton puts it is, it was a way to just take war with Iran off the table and to just get the Israelis to just sit down, shut the fuck up. We got this. We don't need to go to war with Iran. And here's extra, here's an extra like fucking deal that's in place to guarantee that they're not going to make nuclear weapons, okay? Trump comes into power and he fucking tears it up. He tore it up in his first term. And then ever since then, well, maybe not ever since then, but, in his second term, he has been... That's what these negotiations between America and Iran have been, is to get back in the deal, get back into the JCPOA, or to, as Scott would say, like to move a couple of paragraphs around and now it's no longer the Obama deal. Now it's the Trump deal. Great. It's the Trump deal. Whatever, dude. He's got to stroke his ego constantly, but whatever. Okay, great. It's the Trump deal. But so that's what they're trying to do. And then Israel fucking bombs Iran. So that's where we're at right now, and just destroys the negotiations. I mean, I think I've seen reporting that Iran are still open to negotiations, which is like, I don't know how that's possible, but that's great. And I hope that that's true. But Israel doing this has totally undermined Trump, and it's looking like that Trump either because he came out pretty much after the attack and was like, yeah, like I knew about it, and the negotiations were just a smoke screen. I'm paraphrasing. He's basically saying I was just like leading them on to think that we could negotiate while Israel and America were secretly planning to bomb the crap out of them. Fucking great. And then Tucker Carlson came out and reported that apparently that's not true. But he was unaware that the Israelis were going to do this. But like, I don't know what's worse, because it's like either he was complicit in it and then America's at war with Iran and that's fucked up, or he wasn't, but then he's just gone along with it anyway, because he's come out saying like, yeah, whatever the fuck he was saying, fucking that he just totally supported it. Maybe I should try and pull it up, but he like totally was just like on board with it and like, yeah, I did know this whole time. So he's either like lying about that, or he's not. But either way, it's like America's now at war with Iran through their proxy Israel, or maybe even more directly than that. Oh God! All right, let's go back to the article. Iran also has no reason to trust the US at the moment, since Trump backed Israel's attack amid negotiations between Washington and Tehran. Trump has refused to say if he will launch airstrikes on Iran, telling reporters on Wednesday, quote, I have ideas on what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, end quote. The journal report didn't specify what attack plans Trump approved, but it would likely involve US airstrikes on the Fordo nuclear plant, which is buried deep underground, making it impossible to do significant damage without US bunker buster bombs and the US heavy bombers needed to drop them. Israel is trying to get America involved in this war. They can't do it without them. Just so you know, Israel cannot do this. They cannot conduct a regime change war. They cannot destroy all of Iran's nuclear facilities, which is fucked up, because none of these facilities are fucking weapons facilities at all. So effectively, they're wanting to bomb the nuclear facilities, which provide electricity to the civilian population, which is like tens of millions of people, dude. I think it's like 90 million people in Iran. Oh, how fucking great. Yeah, fantastic. That sounds like a great idea. Let's fucking bomb the fucking shit that's just going to cause poverty and despair among innocent civilian people in Iran. Fantastic. Wonderful. Sounds so humanitarian of you. Cunts. Fucking cunts, dude. Israeli officials are expecting the US to intervene with direct attacks on Iran soon. Quote, the whole operation is premised on the fact that the US will join at some point, end quote, an Israeli official told CNN on Tuesday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu launched a war based on the pretext of preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, but US intelligence has assessed that Tehran wasn't seeking a nuclear bomb. We all fucking know this. That was Tulsi Gabbard from the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, put out a report in March saying that they know that they are not seeking nuclear weapons. That was her threat assessment from her intelligence community. That she has control over the CIA, over the NSA, whatever, like just the whole lot, like something like 17 agencies, I heard someone saying, and that's their threat assessment, that Iran is not trying to make a bomb. Shut the fuck up. Fucking Israel, dude. All right, I won't continue to read any more of that article. President Trump told Netanyahu to keep going in Iran. Iran's Khamenei rejects Trump's demand for surrender. Of course. Bipartisan war powers resolution to prevent war with Iran. IAEA chief, no proof Iran working towards a nuke. Yes, of course, we all know this. US fears Israel running low on missile interceptors report. US starts evacuating some diplomats from embassy in Israel. Israel slaughtered 140 Palestinians in Gaza. Lovely. Lovely. Israeli docs reveal further American interests in Gaza aid firm. Israeli docs reveal further American interests in Gaza aid firm. I don't know. Maybe I need to read that. Israel demolishes South Syria homes. Top Pentagon official sacked for criticizing US support to Israel, of course. US launches strikes against al-Shabaab, that's in Somalia. Huge civilian death toll in Trump's Yemen bombing campaign. Thanks, Trump. US attacked Ukraine not to attack. Oh, attacked. Fuck. Can't read. I'm so dyslexic. US asked Ukraine not to attack Russian energy. There are the headlines at antiwar.com. Please go check those guys out. They're fantastic.
I think it was an important consideration. I understand what you're saying, but the fact that they continue to cite this report, based on your assessments, I mean, given what the U.S. intelligence community has been saying, and it's contradicting what the Israeli intelligence is saying, the Americans have continued to say, and Tulsi Gabbard said 2 months ago to the Senate Estimates Committee, the intelligence community has continued to say that we don't believe that Iran at this point in time is trying to weaponize. Is that your assessment as well?
Well, that was not in the same way. We have different mandate, different approach than the national intelligence of a country. For us, on the basis of our inspections, on the basis of our own evaluations, we came to the conclusion that we could not affirm that there is any systematic effort in Iran at the moment to manufacture a nuclear weapon. While we say that, at the same time, we say Iran is enriching 60% uranium, the only country in the world doing that. So there were elements for concern. But as to saying they are building manufacturing a nuclear weapon, no, we didn't say that.
Well, there you go. There's someone from the IAEA just telling you exactly what I just told you. I got a great clip that's going viral right now. So Tucker Carlson interviewed Ted Cruz, a senator from Texas, or a congressman from Texas. Can't remember which one, but some sort of a politician, meant to be representing the American people, specifically Texans. And just have a listen to this shit. It's going super viral online, so it probably wouldn't be hard for anyone to find it themselves, but have a listen to this. Thought it was fucking gold.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because,
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Dude, that exchange was narrative shattering. I don't know how else to put it. That exchange was so incredible. It was such a fucking powerful thing for Tucker to do is just expose that fucking scumbag. There's a lot of these guys. There's a lot of these like supposed America First Trumper Republicans that are just so far from that idea of America First. It's not even fucking funny, dude. There's another great clip where like, I mean, I don't know if I can find it, but where Ted Cruz is just like going on about how his number one issue when he came to the Senate was to be the biggest advocate for Israel he could possibly be. This is a fucking guy from Texas who his constituents are meant to be Texans, and he's talking about the from the very first day, as soon as he got into government, his number one thing was to be the biggest advocate for Israel, a foreign nation. What the fuck is going on, dude? I think we all know what's going on, but like to just anybody else out there who's like hasn't really been paying attention or hasn't had time to pay attention, is just kind of cottoning on now, like pretty much since Israel's demolition of Gaza, more people are starting to wake up to like, whoa, what the fuck is Israel doing? Yeah, it's fucked up that October 7th, that was fucking horrific what Hamas did, and all those guys should pay, but murdering hundreds of people every single day, the vast majority of them innocent people, the vast majority of them fucking women and children, it doesn't add up. This is wrong. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, what Hamas did was wrong, and yes, what Israel is doing to Gaza is fucking wrong. It is wrong, dude. And you just got these politicians in America just supporting it, supporting Israel, no matter what they can do no wrong. And if you dare criticize Israel, you're a fucking Jew hater. That's the way these guys act and how they treat any opponent, anyone, even Tucker Carlson, who like I encourage you to go listen to the whole interview. It's about 2 hours and it's just fucking phenomenal. But like Tucker is constantly saying, I like Israel and I support Israel. I just don't support them dragging us into another catastrophic war, and I don't like how they have been reacting. I don't even know if they really get into Gaza, but I've heard him say that plenty of times. He's like, I like Israel. I just think the way they're conducting, I can't even call it a war, like the way they're conducting this like canned hunt fucking mass slaughter of civilians is wrong, and that's not the way to deal with your terrorism problem. And in fact, well, this isn't Tucker words, this is now my words, but now you guys are the terrorists. Like, how can anybody make a distinction between, I mean, I guess like, you know, Arab or like Hamas terrorism is like more barbaric in some way, I guess, but like you tell me what's more barbaric, or what you tell me the difference in these actions, okay? So guys flying over on paragliders and in boats and on bikes and cars, busting through this cage that they're trapped in Gaza, and this wall and this massive fence that the Israelis has imposed on them and surrounded them with, busting through that somehow through the most sophisticated security apparatus known to man, being the IDF and the Israelis and their surveillance of Gaza. Somehow they got through that and were allowed to run riot for 6, 7, 8 hours without any response from the IDF. Don't know how that happened. I'll leave that for you guys to figure out, but that's the reality. That's what happened. And then so they get out, and then they go and murder people. They go murder people, you know, shooting them, throwing grenades at them, and taking hostages. All the reports of like the 40 beheaded babies, that was an embellishment. That was a massive lie. There was no evidence for that. All the claims that Hamas were going around raping everybody, that was a lie. Although I'm willing to I'm willing to, like, if there's evidence presented that there were some rapes or there were a lot of rapes or whatever, like, yeah, show me the evidence. But to date, no one has come forward with any fucking evidence that was what was going on. What we do have evidence for is Hamas murdered a bunch of innocent people and they took a bunch of hostages. They murdered something like 1,200 people on that day, hundreds of which were IDF soldiers, which, you know, I don't agree with this, but like the rules are that like they're fair game, like that's how this kind of works. But the civilians are off limits, so that's not fair game. So all the civilians that they killed, that is fucked and wrong. And so they do that. They kill a bunch of people, innocent people. They shoot them. They throw grenades at them, and they take a bunch of hostages. So there's that, and then you've got the IDF just dropping bombs, just bombing whole apartment buildings, bombing whole neighborhoods, bombing hospitals, bombing fucking churches, bombing mosques, bombing schools, bombing residential buildings, bombing people's houses, bombing roads, bombing everything in sight. Just look at a before and after of Gaza, and the whole place is fucking flattened. And way more innocent people have died as a response, as a result of what Israel's doing. So which one's terrorism and which one isn't? Or which one, or how are these both not terrorism? You tell me, dude. You fucking tell me. I don't see a fucking distinction. What, just because a government does it, that means that, oh, now it's not terrorism. Now it's not terrorism because the most moral army in the world fucking flattened this place and murdered tens of thousands of people, 50,000 people minimum at this point. We don't even fucking know, dude. There's people trapped under the rubble still, and we've got no idea how many people have actually died. And people want to dispute the fucking the Hamas-led health ministry in Gaza. Okay, fine, I get it. I don't fucking trust Hamas any more than I trust fucking Benjamin Netanyahu. So yeah, fine, okay. But the problem that you've got is that when independent third parties go in after, because this has happened plenty of times, although they haven't been able to now, Israel won't even let journalists into Gaza at all. But when they have been allowed to go in, say after the 2014 50-day war, and after many other fights since then, and prior to that, when independent bodies go in and verify the health ministry, the Hamas health ministry's numbers of casualties, dead, wounded, etc., it always comes back very accurate. And in many cases, they actually understate how many people have been, dead, wounded, or otherwise. So just saying, dude, like, just saying, all right? Yeah. How are they both not terrorism? How is what Hamas did terrorism while what Israel's been doing to the innocent people in Gaza not terrorism? It's fucking bullshit, dude. It's all crap. Just because a government does it doesn't change the morality of it at all. At all. These fucking Zionist scumbag neoconservative fuckwits want to go on about moral relativism and how I'm a moral relativist when no, I'm not. I actually have one standard. I have one standard and I apply it to both sides. That's not moral relativism. That's being objective. Absolutely moral objectiveness or objectivism or whatever you want to say. I have one standard. You don't murder innocent people. Full stop. That's it, dude. That's not moral relativism. If Israel murders a bunch of people, that's fucking murder and wrong. If Hamas murders a bunch of people, that's fucking immoral and that's wrong. Getting a little bit fired up here. Need to take a chill pill. Need to relax. All right? Going to start relaxing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to relax. All right. I'm going to wrap it up very soon. I've calmed down. Had to pause. Had to have a breather. Feeling a lot more tranquil. Feeling a lot more at ease right now. Forgetting about the atrocities of the IDF and all their fucking bullshit and undermining of Trump's negotiations. Starting to get angry again. Relax. I don't think Trump was actually undermined. I think he was part of it, and it was all a fucking ploy. And he's a fuckwit too, an absolute fucking scumbag. But, okay, so, all right, so I'm going to do the markets. But before I do, I just thought I'd mention, please like the video. Please share the video. Please leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I've got anything wrong, or if you agree, or if you have any material that you'd like me to look at, any pieces to read, any books, things like that. Really appreciate any feedback I get. And yeah, please, so if you could please, just do me one favor, just like the video and share it with one friend or one family member, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, whatever. That's fine. Okay, cool. All right, got that out of the way, got the formalities out of the way. So let's go over to the markets. Let's have a quick look at gold. This is gold in US dollars, in USD. $3,355.56, and where, you know, we broke out of this channel, this parallel channel that I had drawn, but now it seems like there's a bit of resistance and it's struggling to get over $3,400. So let's see what happens. Could be a little inverted head and shoulders pattern, not too sure, but I'll just leave this parallel channel as it is. So let's go to gold in Aussie dollars, and similar thing, had a parallel channel drawn, $5,188.91, and similar thing, not much else to say. Could be an inverted head and shoulders, but I'll just leave the parallel channel, and we'll see how we look next week. Let's go to silver in Aussie dollars, $56.29. I had this, that's totally violated now. I had this head and shoulders drawn just to see a potential, and it failed, so I'll get rid of that, because once you break above the neckline, it's all over, especially above the head. So this is just a steady march onwards and upwards. You can see a little bit of a sort of trend, something like that happening. So yeah, let's keep an eye on it. $56.30. Silver in US dollars, $36.41.2, 40 cents now, 39 cents now. I've got to stop talking about it, or else it might just dump. Had a potential double top. My double top is gone. That is violated completely. And similar thing, just a bit of an upwards trend, really, since this kind of Wyckoff accumulation that was going on. So good to see. All right, silver. Doing well out there. Let's have a look at the US dollar, 91.012. That's the DXY, which is the US dollar priced against a basket of other currencies. I can't remember what they are. If you want to know, go have a look for yourself, you cunts. Love you cunts, but check it out for yourself. So there is this potential. Actually, you know what? I might put that back there. I was thinking it was here, but you know, there's a potential double bottom happening, which isn't good for foreigners, isn't good for me in Australia. Much prefer this thing just dump and go to the floor. Sorry to my American listeners out there, if there are any. But yeah, you've had it way too good for way too long, and we would like the imbalances of your currency to be more favorable to us. That'd be nice, thanks. Okay, Aussie dollar to US dollar, 64.70 cents. Aussie dollar priced against the US dollar, and that's pretty much it. We're above this little area, 64.16 cents, where there was heavy resistance support. So hopefully we can get to 67.9 cents. Maybe go test that. So what would that be? That would be from where we are right now, roughly, whatever. Roughly, another 4.89% before we touch that next ice line. So let's see. Hopefully we get a bit of a rally in the Aussie dollar. That'd be nice. The Aussie 10-year yield, 4.22% to loan the government money for 10 years. I don't know who in their right mind would do that other than our central bank, the Reserve Bank of Australia, and that's their mechanism for printing money, creating inflation, and destroying the value of our dollar. So that's what they love to do. So that's where we're at right now. Let's go to the US 10-year yield, which is 4.391%. And yeah, just kind of in this limbo phase. Flip a coin, guys. Could go anywhere. But hopefully yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I hope for. Hopefully, interest rates rise so that inflation can go down and our currencies can get stronger. That's where I'm at with it. Let's have a look at Bitcoin just quickly. 104,717 cents and $104,717.21, and not much else to write home about. That's just where it is. Made all-time highs not long ago, back in 19th of May. So it could happen again at any moment. Who could say? All right, and I'm going to wrap it up there. What's that? 50 minutes. 50 minutes. All right. Thanks, guys. It's been a little while. I'm trying to get these out as often as I can. Oh, excuse me. I'm a bit tired, but I've just been flat out. Everybody. Just flat out with the house build and flat out with work. Had to do a trip up to Yeppoon this week. Yeppoon is past Rockhampton, ever so slightly past Rockhampton, but from where I live down in northern New South Wales, it was almost a 10-hour drive with no stops. So with stops, it was roughly 10 hours. More than 10 hours. So yeah, did that drive Monday, got there Monday night, stayed there, did the job, did the delivery on Tuesday, and then made my way back Tuesday, stopped in at Gin, stayed there. So it was about 4-hour drive from Yeppoon to Gin, stayed there, and then did the other 5 hours or so, 5.5 hours from Gin back to northern New South Wales. Got back last night. Still pretty tired. Went around, did some painting today at the house. Things are coming along. Hopefully get all the plasterings done now, and hopefully get the waterproofing done next week and the tiling started. My brother-in-law is going to start doing the steps and do all the fixing out, architraving, skirting board, door jams, door stops, internal doors being hung, all that fun stuff. So that's where I'm at. And yeah, I'll try my best to squeeze another one in. Yeah, it'll be next week. It's going to be next week, all right? So see you next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is Harrison, the Arabian Pleb. Please like, share, comment. Would really appreciate all that stuff. Sounding like a true professional live streamy, podcasty guy now, aren't I? Fantastic. All right. Not going to say it again, but I will say it again. Thank you very much. Love you all. Peace out. No war with Iran. No war with Iran. No war with Iran. Please just do whatever you can. I don't know what we can do other than just talk about it and dispel people of the Israeli propaganda. No war with Iran. They're not building nuclear weapons. They're signed onto the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They have a safeguard agreements with the IAEA. Shut the fuck up, anybody saying otherwise. Anybody saying we should go to war with Iran, treat them as the enemy that they are. The Israeli disinformation, I hate that word, but whatever, the Israeli propaganda agent that they are, either wittingly or unwittingly. Fuck you. No war with Iran. Peace out, everybody.